So another important thing that will come in very very handy to you is joining the classes every single weekend. That is the most important thing, having that attendance. No matter you're under, like if you feel that I'll probably brush up the older classes and then I'll come back and join. That never happens. If I give you a task of watching all those videos in 1 week, probably most of you will get bored and not do it. So just keep coming, even though you get that feeling that I should probably watch the older content first and then come back. Let's leave the classes for a while, for probably 1 week or 2 week, let's leave it. Don't do that. Okay. I have seen a lot of people doing that smartness. Trust me, I've been teaching this for probably 5 years now. Whenever people become irregular, it is very 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 tough to come back. So I'm telling you this beforehand, that be regular as much as possible. So even if you leave, even if you are not able to attend a particular weekend, the videos will be available pretty much right after the class. Okay, leaving the initial weekend, probably within this week I'll put both these classes. Don't worry, in the first 1 or 2 days itself I'll do it. But from next week onwards, the videos will be uploaded pretty much right after the class. So in probably 1 or 2 hours after the class, the video will be live for you, if you want to go through it once again. So with you have one whole work week with you, find time, go through the videos again. And if you can do that every week, that is the best thing that you guys could do. But if you can't, still keep coming to the live classes. Okay. If you have another call or something, if you can't join, worst case scenario, then watch the video, because it will be ready after the class. So those 2 hours, if you cannot come, just watch the video next day. But try to maintain that consistency. In the first time, since this is a new concept, you might forget things here and there. Whatever I taught you probably 3 weeks ago, you might forget that. Don't worry, still keep coming. Okay, because I want you to know the whole length and breadth of this thing. Okay. Because I want you to be able to imagine a particular scenario. Whenever you have to automate something at your work, I want you to be in a position to imagine that how exactly, or which library in Python, or which exact way I should go about this. What should I do as a what should be my Google search to find out scenarios similar to my scenario, to automate my scenario. Okay. So things like that I want you to understand in depth, so that even when these classes end after 3 months almost, you are in a position when you will go through the whole course again. You'll be able to actually start doing stuff. Okay. So when you start doing stuff, the real learning happens at that time. So you will have enough knowledge to start doing little things at your work. Then another thing that helps in this scenario is that if you guys could find a task. Okay, don't find a very difficult task at work that you want to automate. Whatever task, very simple task, just find very simple task, like probably I'll go to all of these devices in my network, and I want to find, let's say I want to create a database of all the interfaces on every single device and their IP addresses and the subnet mask. Okay, I just want to create a database of all the devices and their interfaces. Okay, so that whenever an issue arises, I can just search the IP address at which the trace route is stopping, and I'll be able to identify in 1 second where that device is. A simple task like that. Okay, just identify that one task that you're struggling with. Don't take a task very heavy on yourself, that I will go to that server and pick this data from that server, and from DNS server I'll pick this data from my SolarWinds API, I'll pick this data, and then I'll make a database, or probably I'll build an application that will do this or do that. You give this input and this application will magically yield any result or something like that. I'll put AI in. Don't think like that for the first task, but pick a task. Okay, no matter how small it is, just pick a task that would probably help you or probably help your team to do certain stuff. Okay, some stuff that you have to do in a repetitive manner. So the thing why I want you to do that is, just pick that task and keep thinking. As we go through our our course content, you keep thinking, okay, this concept I think I can apply in that task. Okay, this concept that I learned today, probably I can apply in my task that I've thought. So just try to keep applying that knowledge that you are gaining in the task then and there whenever you learn it. What will happen is, by the end of the course, if you are in a position to do that or write that script that automates that task for you, the kind of confidence that this will give you, you will be able to write like 10 other scripts also, and you will probably by the end of the 3 months you will probably start writing yourself. Okay, so just don't be lazy. You have invested your money, and you are also even costlier than that is your time. So you're investing your time and money both, so make most of it, and I'm there to help you in that particular task. Let's say you have written 50% of the script, or 30% of the script, and you're stuck on the logic, that okay, what exact logic should I use to solve this problem? Should I do this task first or that task first? You just keep thinking that. You can just join 10 minutes earlier, 15 minutes earlier before the class starting time, and we can discuss that. Okay, and I can give you hints, and I can give you whatever help I can, and probably you will be, by the end of the course, you will be able to build something yourself, right? Does that sound great? Does everyone agree?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so if you have not thought anything, don't worry, no issues. You have all the time. You think about things like these within this week, what you really want to do, and probably in tomorrow's class, or the next weekend, we can even have a small discussion on this topic, that what you guys are thinking. If you are up for it, just join 10-15 minutes earlier, and we can have a discussion. Like in 2 minutes, everyone can explain that what they are thinking, what kind of task they want to do. I'll probably ask you some probing questions, that how, just to understand how easy or difficult that task is to accomplish. Okay, is it even accomplishable? To get a certain data from a certain server, do you even have access to that server? Like things like that. So I'll just ask some probing questions, and based on that, you can finalize whatever that task is. Okay, and probably you can, as you learn, you can try and apply that knowledge to your task. Fine. Okay, so let's start. Just give me a moment. So my screen is visible. Yeah, right. Okay. So today let's start with the very basic. Let's just do a Python introduction. So this gentleman that you see on your screen, his name is Guido van Rossum. Okay, so he is the creator of Python. Okay, and very knowledgeable guy. He worked at multiple organization, universities, and so on, where he was working on developing another language, but that was all official work. At a personal level, he started you know developing a Python, and then basically made it a community project where everyone started contributing, and a lot of people contributed, and basically Python as we know it came into existence, right? So a lot of on YouTube you can find a lot of content around him. He has given a talk in Oxford and things like that. So something you can look forward to. You can watch some of his content. You'll enjoy. You'll understand the what you say, the context behind things. So yeah, you can go through that content about him. Then basically it is a general purpose language, and it basically it started out as a very basic language, but over the time it developed in such a way that you can basically build any piece of software using Python. You can develop like complete websites. You can develop complete tools that do a lot of things, like Ansible is an example, completely developed in Python. So lot of websites also, like there are a lot of web frameworks like Django is there, Flask is there, which people are using to even develop websites. Like a lot of websites, I think Udemy is based on Django only. So they have used Django as the core for developing that language. So a lot of other websites, if you just Google Django based commercial websites, anything like that. So a lot of software in production is based on Python nowadays. Okay, obviously they add layers of Java and React and all those things on top to make it nice, but the core of that, they lot of websites are using Python now. Then it is obviously open source, free for everyone to use. That's the best part. Anyone can just download it, install it, and start working with it. Then the most important thing about Python is the community around it. Okay, and how it comes into play is that it comes in the form, the help from the community comes in the form of packages. Okay, so what is happening in the community is that all the engineers out there who are facing problems of their own, like if there is a person who is working in the, let's say server, he has to do something on the servers. Okay, server system admin or any position like that. So if that guy is facing a problem and he develops a library that helps him to SSH into his server and make run certain commands and make certain changes, that guy, to solve his problem of SSHing into his server, developed a library. Now that library is available to us as network engineers because we have to do a very similar task. So what happens is, if you were a network engineer and you had to basically do a task of from your PC automatically logging into a router or a switch and sending certain commands and receiving certain commands, you could not do it if you did not have packages on your own, the whole deal. Because to achieve that whole task of sending commands and receiving output involves lot of prerequisite steps also. What are those steps? You need the ability to develop packets that can correspond to a particular TCP session. So you need the ability to establish a TCP session in an automated way. Okay, in an automated way you should be able to send certain packets that are part of a particular TCP session, and you have to log in to your device and create a session. Basically first a TCP session, you have to do that three-way handshake and all those things, and then once that session is established, you have to take care of cryptography, where you will use a particular key to create an encryption tunnel. So then once that tunnel is created, you will have to, before sending any data into the channel or in the tunnel, you will have to encrypt it. On the other side, you will have to decrypt it. Once the data comes in from this side, you have to decrypt on your end. Things like that, all these things, all that code you have to develop. Okay. And then once all this code is developed, then you will be in a position where you will be able to send certain commands as packets to your device, and then receive the output, and receive that output also in a format where you can basically save it, or you can work with it, basically a text with which your devices, with which your operating system can work. Save it in a notepad file, save it in some other kind of file. So basically developing that data. So then coming to this position requires all these steps to be done. So if a company had to do that on its own, okay, the challenge would be that this development process itself might take them probably an year. Okay, an year of work right there, and then you'll come to the position. So with Python, the greatest thing is, like, this is a very simple use case that I'm explaining. Probably SSH library would exist in every programming language, but I'm just explaining the concept here. In a lot of other programming languages, what happens is that those initial libraries you are lacking to do the very basic stuff. Okay, so in the case of Python, that is the best part. People from all walks of the industry are developing packages, and you can basically use in your personal project, you can use like 10 different libraries, and basically create anything that you want to achieve. Okay, whatever output you are receiving in whatever format, whether it is a normal text format, whether it is a table kind of a thing, whether it is JSON or XML, any kind of data you are receiving from the other end, whatever you want to do with that data, you want to present it in a nice way, in a colorful manner on the terminal, you want to present it as tables, you want to save it in Excel file, anything like that. Whatever development you want to do on top of that data that you're receiving, you can do it very easily, because there are libraries, and you just have to, once you understand how to work with one library or two libraries, you will be in a position to understand how that third library will work, how to read the documentation of a particular library, and start using that in your project. Okay, so that initial work of developing that library for a particular task is done. Okay, is pretty much done. It is just a matter of downloading and installing that library, and start working with it. Okay, so that initial time is saved in the case of Python. Whatever use cases you might think as network engineer, lot of work is already done for you. You just need to build on top of that. Okay, your custom scenario. So the clothing is already created. A lot of hints as to how to develop a suit is already created. You have to just develop your custom fitting of the suit. Okay, so that's the greatest part about Python. Then obviously main versions are 2.x and 3.x. There are no 2.x is already out. Although I mentioned fade over time, but it has faded over time. No one is now using it. Like existing projects might be there, which were developed like probably 5-10 years ago, but most companies are in the latest features that version 3.x provides in terms of efficiency, in terms of processing power and things like that, and newer features that version 3.x has. Most of the companies are in the process of migrating to the newer code or the newer version. So we don't have to do anything with this version. We'll be working with the latest Python. So nothing there. So any questions till now? Any doubts you want to discuss? We go ahead. Okay. So I mentioned this word package multiple times. Okay. So from my explanation, probably you might have got the idea that you will have to deal with these packages a lot, right? Even the people who write packages, who develop these packages, need other packages, okay, to develop their own packages. So it is not something that it is not a shortcut that I am teaching you guys. Okay, it is something even the most expert people have to use. Okay, so the other name for packages is libraries. I might end up using libraries at some point, so don't get confused. Packages, libraries, sometimes these are even called modules. Okay, in some senses they are also modules. So don't get confused, these are all referring to the same thing most of the time. In some cases what a module means might change, but mostly it is we use the term libraries more than packages. The official term is obviously packages. So you have to deal with packages, that's a given. Okay, you have to have an understanding of how to get packages, how to work with them. So what they did, when they developed Python, they developed one more important component which is called pip. Okay, so it is basically nothing but Python's package management system. Okay, it is, if you look at, if you go inside it, it is nothing but a very long Python script, probably 2-3 thousand lines of Python script. Okay, so it is just to manage your packages, whatever tasks people generally want to do with the packages. You know all those tasks you can do with pip, one single tool. So when you install Python, pip automatically gets installed. So once the Python is installed properly, as I've explained in the video, in your case also, like Python, if you will run Python will start working. As you can see, it will start accepting the command Python. Okay, but what else will also start working is pip. Okay, so if I say pip help, in the case of Mac or Linux, I think you'll have to mention pip3 explicitly. Okay, pip3 Python 3, you have to put the keyword 3 after this. Because in older, now I think even in Linux also they have deprecated this, but I think mostly you will still find it on all older systems, pip3 Python 3. Just put 3 after every command pretty much. So yeah, so once it is installed, you will be able to access all the commands. So this pip will also be identified your PC as a command, right? So it has all these actions that you can see here. A lot of these commands that you can that the pip will do, will go through some of these. So if you're wondering what is the full form, the full form is recursive. In the case of pip, it is pip installs packages. So in the full form of pip again comes in. Okay, so pip installs packages, that is the full form. So at a high level, it installs the packages, it uninstalls them, it does a lot of other tasks also, but yeah, for the full form they've just gone with this. Okay, so now let's dive a little bit more deep into it. Okay, so what I'll do is, if I want to check, the first command that most of you might end up using is checking what is the list of packages that are already installed on your PC. So to check that, the simple command, yeah,
all these command will run after installation of Python in our
yeah,
system.
yeah. So when you install Python, pip will also get installed, and after that it will work. Okay. Yeah, so the first command that you all might end up using is pip. and if your pip is on a older version, the versions of pip keep coming in very quickly. So newer versions really not that much of a need to keep updating pip. Pretty much it is, they're just removing bugs and things like that, but the basic actions every version of pip will be do. If you want to upgrade it, they'll also give you the command, so you just run this command and it will upgrade it also. It will uninstall the previous pip and download the latest pip and install that also. So it installs itself also. Okay, pip itself takes care of itself. So as you can see in this command also, I'm using Python to run the script pip. Okay, and I'm using the script pip to do the action of upgrading pip itself. Okay, so pip takes care of itself also. So the other, coming back to the list command, so what this list command is doing is, it is showing you all the packages and the version numbers that these packages have. Now in the world of programming, in this world, versioning matters a lot. Okay, you have to be, you cannot ignore these numbers. These numbers are very important that you see on the right hand side. So they basically tell you what version of the code you are working on. So what happens sometimes is, you want to check the version, because let's say if you use, let's say, this particular library bcrypt for example, and you develop your own project that uses this library to do a certain task within the project. One subtask of your script is done by using the help of this library, let's say. So let's say a newer version of this library has come out already. Okay, so what can happen is, if someone else installs this package, let's say they downloaded the latest version, and most of the times what will happen is, the projects will work probably 99% of the time, because most of the time the code is backwards compatible. But sometimes when major changes in these libraries or any software happens, the backward compatibility also breaks. Okay, like in the case of, if you are working with Cisco devices, you might have seen that to install a newer operating system, the ROM file also has to be upgraded. Have you seen this, anyone? The ROM upgrade also you have to do. That previous ROM is not compatible with the newer operating system. So things like that happen in this world. Okay, so you have to be very conscious about what version it is. So what in that case will happen is, you will have to inform, if in your PC a certain script or a certain project is running successfully and it is not running on your friends or your teammates PC, in that case you will have to check what version of all the libraries that you are using in that project is there on your PC versus his PC, and if a particular library has to be changed, you will have to do that. And how will you do that? So generally when it comes to installing any package, let's say they installed, first I'll show you an installation. So one of the libraries is requests, for example. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll uninstall this library. I'll say pip uninstall requests. Okay, proceed, yes. So it has installed requests library and this particular version of the requests library, 2.28.1, right? So if I have to install it, if there is a newer code, it will download that. So the newer code is there, 2.28.2 has come in. So basically it went and downloaded that and installed it. So I now have 2.28.2. okay, that is how you download and install. So this single command install will also download, right, and then it will also do the job of installing. Okay, but did you notice that when I installed request library, it is also looking for these libraries. These are also libraries: certify, character set, URL lib, IDNA, and so on. So, and it is saying requirement already satisfied, already satisfied, already. So it is, although I just wanted one library to be downloaded and installed, it is also going ahead and trying to install these libraries. Now in this case, all the versions that are required for this library to work, or this package to work, those are available on my PC, and they are in fairly the state which it can work with. Okay, so this library requires a certain minimum package version number, and if my PC has that, then it is fine. Otherwise it would have downloaded. If the package was missing, it would have or if the version was older, it would have still downloaded the newer version and installed it. So basically these libraries are what you call dependencies. So the request library will be able to work on your PC if these libraries exist on your PC and are installed. If they are not installed, then it will also go ahead and install these dependencies. These are also libraries, but in this scenario I am calling them dependencies. Okay, they are giving some error also, but anyways. So there's, I think they're talking about some other libraries also. I think in the newer versions they have started looking at all my current libraries, and they're giving me errors for the current libraries also, but we can ignore that for a time. So has everyone understood what happened here? What are dependencies? To check out the dependencies, there is one more command, pip show. If I do pip show and tell it the name of the library, it will also tell me it requires these libraries. You can see the names are same. Okay, certify, character stack, car set, normalizer, URL lib3, IDNA, same libraries here. Okay, and it is also telling me this library is required by these other libraries. Okay, so I have some more libraries, so it is also telling me. So if I would have downloaded PyNTC and installed PyNTC or Napalm, it will also download requests. Okay, so sometimes what happens is lot of these multiple cycles of installations happen. So you will install Napalm, you will see that 10 other libraries are getting, 20 other libraries are getting downloaded and installed. So that is a common thing to happen, because all these libraries are dependent on each other. So at the end of the day, although this library might only have 3 other libraries as dependencies, what will happen is when you will go ahead and download that other library, it will have further dependencies. So you are installing one library, 20 libraries get installed sometimes. Okay, so nothing to worry about, that's a normal process. So the programmer, whoever this guy is, Kenneth, who developed the request libraries, he also took the help of other libraries to develop his library. Is it clear?
Yes.
So yeah, so these are the high level things, uninstalling packages, installing packages, and things like that. Now sometimes if you want to go to an older version of a particular library, so let's say I uninstall requests again. Okay, it will, let's say I want to go back to 2.28.2, but here if I just run the earlier command, pip install requests, what will happen? Again the latest version will get installed. Okay, and has anyone had this question in mind till now, where all these libraries are getting downloaded from? Did anyone wonder?
From the repo, maybe.
Yeah, so where is that repo?
It could be local. If it's not present local, it get it from the Ubuntu or whatever the repo.
No.
GitHub or something?
Yeah, GitHub, most of these projects or most of these libraries use GitHub to take the help of community to develop that package, but it is not, because it is not the actual GitHub repo from where these get downloaded and installed, because we are using pip. Okay, so pip is one program that is taking care of downloading all these and installing. So in that case, it has to be some central repository, right? Every library can have a different GitHub link, or probably some of them might be not even using GitHub, they might be using some other GitLab or Bitbucket or anything other version control system. So in that case, it will not be able, they will not be able to work with pip. So what they do is, every library has to, once the code is finalized, once all the tests are run, they all have to go, like they have to publish that library on a central repository or on a central package management system that Python guys have, that is called pi. Okay, Python package index, the Python package index. So this is where all these projects go. So if I search for example requests, so you will see requests has been published here. So whatever is the latest code of request, that has to be uploaded here first. Okay, so now this is the GUI version of the repository that we are seeing, where we are able to read about this, but it has a back-end version also, where probably they are using FTP, or I'm not sure, HTTP download, or whatever pip uses to download from there, it is getting downloaded. So this is the file that has been published there, or this version. So these two files are there, which pip automatically knows where to get it from, and it downloads from there and installs on your PC. So these files, they have to finalize from their GitHub. So if you want to check the source, the whole code, they will have the GitHub link also there. So this is the source code. So here you can come in and check the exact code that they have written. Okay, all Python scripts. So these Python, individual Python scripts are also sometimes called modules, but the whole thing, we'll have another class on packages where we'll discuss the package structure in detail. Let's not waste time on that. So for now, this is the GitHub link where requests is kept as a as a project. Okay, so here also you will see all the different releases. Sometimes what you will also notice in some libraries is that they have already progressed to newer versions, like they will probably be on 2.29 or 2.30 or something like that, or 2.28.3, 4 something, and that version that they have here will not be available here. That is because they basically, whatever stable version they have, newest stable version that has been tested by the community, by them, whatever testing mechanisms they have, it can be different for different libraries. So through those mechanisms, if it is tested, if it is good to go, that code they will package it and put it here on the PyPy. Okay, so GitHub is where all the contributors can basically fork this code. For what is forking and all, we'll discuss when we'll do GitHub. Forking is basically downloading all the versions that they have on the GitHub. All those things will be downloaded on your PC, and then you can start working on this. And whoever, basically you can see 9K forks. So pretty much you can say that is around the number of times that people have downloaded it to work with this library. Okay, so even you guys can start working on these. These are what they call the open source projects. So you can even become a contributor. You just have to probably here they will have one. This is the readme.md file which explains how to work with the project. Probably there will be another MD file some projects will have history.md, authors and all. There will be one more file generally that projects will have, contribute.md or something like that. So you just need to go, some projects will have a detailed process how to become member of that project and start contributing. So you don't need to really contribute to the open source in terms of code only. You could be helping them in resolving these issues that people are reporting. Okay, you could be resolving the issues. Some of them will have like 1 or 2 lines of code or one error that has been made by some other developer. You just have to resolve those errors. That is one of the ways. Other ways could be just going in and writing descriptions for certain things, like what a particular function does or what different things do. So if you go inside the code, there will be a lot of places where you will have descriptions. So like this is a description about what this particular function does, what this piece of code does. This is a description. Okay, so you can just help them by writing these descriptions. There are descriptions that are written for the whole script and things like that. So if you understand, if you are reading that code to that extent, you can contribute in that capacity also. So that is up to you, whatever you want to do. By what this basically helps you to do is to you will read more and more code. You will see how expert people write code and things like that, but that is for a later stage. You don't need to get into all this right now. So yeah, any doubts till now?
Hey, just question there actually. So, and the
Yeah.
last part that you're describing. So,
Yeah.
how does a person, let's suppose you're doing a project and I'm just contributing my comments or whatever that I'm capable of,
Uh-huh.
and how do you generally validate that whatever the
Yeah.
comments I have made are valid one, or if they are
Yeah.
taking the project in the right way or not? So,
Yeah,
how
right.
is that going to be
What,
validated?
yeah, what happens is, that is what I was saying, there is a file contribute.md. Uh, Anyways, we are going to discuss this in very much detail in our topic. We have a topic about Git and version control. So there we are going to discuss in detail, but at a high level, I'll just tell you, it is just an approval process. It is not that anyone can write code and it will get accepted and it will get become part of the actual code. There are contributors, but then there are higher level people also. So within these contributors, some of them will have a higher authority than you. Okay, so once you will contribute, it will be peer reviewed. It will be reviewed by someone before committing it to the main code. Okay, so when they will review, they will see in which file what additions you have done, what deletions you have done. They will that will be visible to them. So they can decide to accept it or they can send it back to you with comments that you can resolve this first, resolve that first, and then come back. Okay, so it happens in that way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense now.
Okay. So yeah. So one more small thing. How basically, if you're working in teams, I was telling you how to install a particular version. So if I just go back quickly, so here you will have release history. So let's say I want to download any of these older versions for a particular code that is not running. If a particular code is running on your friend's PC and not on your PC, and he is using, let's say, an older version of a particular library, and you want to just download that specific library. Let's say I want to go back to 28.1 now. So if I just run the command till this point, it will always, pip will always download, try and install the latest version. So if you want to go to an older version, you just have to say equal to sign and 2.28.1, let's say that's the version. And if I hit enter now, two times equal to, okay, and it will go back and download the older version and install that for you. Clear? So this is how you can go for older versions. Clear? But now what also can happen is, sometimes you don't have time. Like let's say if you are working on a very big project with a bigger team, what happens is there could be hundreds of libraries that you end up using in that project. Okay, so in that case it is not very easy to work or look at individual versions of individual libraries and then do the installation or then set up your environment. So what happens is people, what they'll do, they'll use this command called pip freeze. Okay, pip freeze. And after the freeze, like for this to show you quickly, what I'll do is I'll first go to desktop. Okay, so on my desktop I already have one file. Let me just delete that. You see, I already had this file. I'll delete it. Okay, so on my desktop, what I'll do, I'll say, just to get the proper path, I'm doing it. So you will say pip freeze, and then you'll put this arrow mark or that greater than sign, and you will mention the name of the file. If you are not at the proper path, you can give the complete path of the file also. In, let's say, in a particular folder, if you want to create that, you can give the complete path also. But other than that, you will just mention the name of the file. Then it can be a text file. You can have other extensions also. So let's say it is a text file, requirements.txt. You just hit enter, and what happened, it is not visible to you, but this one file got created. Let me show it to you on desktop. So this file got created. Okay, requirements.txt. So if I open this file, you will see that all the versions of all the libraries have been put in this file. Let's say all these libraries are required, are being used for a particular project. Okay, so what will happen, this file basically you can share with the other scripts of the project. Okay, let's say all the people are contributing to that project in your team. If you ended up using a particular library, what you will do, you will make a copy of this file on your PC, and you will upload this file also with the other files of the project, like other Python scripts or markdown files, whatever kind of files it is. With those files you will put this file also. So this file will be accessible by everyone now. Okay, what they will do, if something is not working on their PC, what they will do as a first step of troubleshooting is, they will just your friend will go on in their terminal, and they will say pip install. In this time they'll use a special option -r. Okay, and then whatever path they have on their PC for this file, they will put that complete path. Okay, so let's say for them I'll get the complete path also. In this way you can copy as path. Okay, just do a control and right click, you'll get that option, and you paste it like this. So whatever path it is there on their PC, they will get that path and they'll hit enter. And what this file will do, whatever libraries were mentioned there, okay, it will start installing all those libraries with their particular versions. Clear? So in my case, all of them are already available. Otherwise, it would have started downloading. So in one go, people will be able to, what you say? People will be able to be on the same versions as you are, and hopefully after that they will be able to run the project scripts. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the deal with pip. Okay, that is I think the max that you guys will ever have to do with pip. Okay, other than that there are a lot of other options also, but those are for people who who develop their own packages. So hopefully someday you guys will also be developing packages. My best wishes to you. In that, when that day will arrive, you don't need my help to tell you what other pip options are there. Okay, so other options are for some expert scenarios, but for us, even I have not used any other option besides these. Okay, so yeah, that's the pretty much the whole deal. Okay, about pip. Now let's proceed. If you guys have any doubts, you can go ahead, otherwise you can start with the next topic. So for the next part, there are two ways to proceed. There is one library called IPython. Okay, IPython. Okay, so either you install that, okay, and you work with it, or you in your Visual Studio Code, you can come in here and you can create a IPython notebook. So this, both of these things are pretty much the same thing. So in this case, the good part is I'll try to use this as much as possible. The good part is basically when you're writing the code, it is also IPython, but it is in the form of a notebook. So whatever I'll write here, it will be saved as a file. Okay, so basically we are creating notes also as we go ahead. Okay, so the discussion of in general topics was pretty much up to this point only. From now onwards, whatever topics we discuss, even if I explain some concept to you, very quickly after that we will start writing, we'll start working on the examples. So someone asked me about notes. So this is what we are, these are notes only that we are creating. Okay, so I will be like these files that I am writing will be available to you. So in the file itself, everything is there. Okay, this is an older example. So from here you can see these itself are notes. You don't need any other notes. Okay, so how a particular thing is done, you can just go through these with the video, and pretty much you're sorted. Clear? So we'll try to use the IPython notebook as much as possible, and otherwise, other than that, when we are not using notebooks, we will be using scripts, right? So in the script itself is a note. So this whole thing itself is a notebook. So you don't, pretty much you don't need any notes creation as such. If you like creating notes of what I'm saying, you can, you're free to do it. You have a notebook. I'll be the most delighted one if you create notes, because some people like creating notes. You can have a pen and paper, or you could be, if you're a fast typer, you can open a word file and start typing there from the screen. You're most welcome to take snapshots of things when I'm doing something, when I'm explaining something. You can take snapshots and keep putting it in the file and write 1 or 2 lines about that if you want to. Other than that, you can use this OneNote tool also, okay, that we are using here. So this OneNote tool is also good. Here also you can put snapshots and write around it. Okay, if you have a this pen tool, you can use that also. However you want to go about it, if you really are into creating notes. Other than that, the scripts, the code that we write, that itself is going to act as a note. Fine. Yeah, so let's proceed. And yeah, where was I? Yeah, so here in IPython, like if I enter IPython here, so once you guys will also have to do this step, pip install IPython. Okay, once that is done, IPython will also be identified as one of the commands. So here, if you remember, at the very top I typed in Python, right? Here I typed Python, and I entered this shell where I could write these certain commands, or basically these are not commands, these are lines of code. Okay, this is what you call the Python shell. Okay, once you install Python, Python interpreter or Python shell will be available to you as a different program also. But if you have installed it properly as per the steps I have explained in the video, you know, on any terminal, whether it is command prompt, whether it is you know, what you say, what is the other terminal in Windows? PowerShell. So whether it is PowerShell or whether it is command prompt, wherever you will type Python, you will be able to enter the shell. So what this shell basically is, that these commands kind of looking things are actually lines of code. So what this provides you with the, basically this shell provides you with the ability to write individual lines of code also and check how that particular line works. So this can act as a good troubleshooting mechanism at times. So if you have written like 5 or 6 lines of code and you want to check with dummy inputs how that code is working, you can come to this shell and start doing that. Okay, so IPython basically is an extension to that. It is just a cover on top of that actual shell. So if I run the, you know, IPython command, it is using that same shell in the background. Okay, but on top of that we've installed IPython. The full form is interactive Python. So on top of the original Python we have installed this, because this gives you a little bit more options. You know, it gives you color coding, it gives you, you know, a lot of these interactive things that will help you to understand what you're doing. Okay, it will give you these input output tags and so on. So it becomes easier for you to read the code. So any Visual Studio Code or any IDE, these are called IDEs, anything you'll use, you'll see that they will have this color coding. Okay, so if I do let's say 5 plus 5, you can see that these numbers are coming in as green, but this plus is coming in as white. So this is just to make the code more readable. This color coding is there. So the same thing they will provide to you in the terminal. Okay, so here also if I say 5 plus 5, you can see that color coding, right? So that is the only reason for using this. You can do anything that we do here in the normal Python shell also. Okay, or you can do it here also. So all these things are same. Here the only good part is it is also being saved as a file. So understood? In the background all things are same. Okay, so here also it is using Python 3.10 in the background, but on top of that they have you know, basically Visual Studio Code is doing all this for you. So whenever you are creating any file, just create it with this extension IPYNB. Okay, IPY for Python, NB for notebook. IPYNB. If you create any file, okay, like I'll create one now. Okay, let's say I'll call it initial and print function dot IPYNB. Okay, just create it like this and it will appear. Clear? So we can do it here also, same thing. Okay, now let's proceed. Let's start with understanding or start working with the Python shell or the Python interpreter. Everyone understands what interpreter is, right? Anyone can tell me what is an interpreter? I think we've learned that in our engineering days, or even in some cases school days also. Can anyone tell me?
Something that translates the human like readable code to machine readable data language.
Yeah, basically human readable code to machine readable code. Okay, machine readable and operatable basically. Okay, So at a high level you can call it machine language. Okay, the language that your processor and other components can understand, right? So this is called the interpreter. So in some languages it is directly the interpreter, but in some other languages there are two components. You have a component of compiler as well. Fine. So what happens is, once you write all your code, you first have to compile it. Okay, in the compiling phase also it checks all the errors and things like that, and then it will, once it is compiled, then it will allow you will be in a position to run the code. Okay, like Java for example, you have to compile it first. Okay, and then you once it is compiled, all the errors are removed, everything is done, then you can when you run it, it will use the interpreter is still there. Okay, so there are two steps, but in case of high level or advanced languages like Python, there is just one thing, which is Python. So all the intelligence of checking whether the code is is in a good enough condition to run or not, that is done by the IDEs themselves. Okay, I keep calling IDE, it is called integrated development environment. An example of IDE is Visual Studio Code. Another example could be PyCharm. Okay, some of you might have heard PyCharm. So these are all examples of IDEs, integrated development environments. They just provide you an environment where you can write code nicely. It will do the error checking right then and there. It will help you with the proper indentation and all these things. It will help you with those things, color coding and all these things. So the error checking happens at the same time when you're writing the code. There itself it will start showing you errors if you have written something wrong, or something is not possible to do and you're trying to do. It will give you indication by using different methods, by highlighting text, or by giving red lines under the text or yellow lines under the text depending on the severity of the error, and highlighting the text, highlighting the text, and things like that. It will do these things to give you visual inputs as to let you know if the code is going to run properly or not. We'll see that happening. Okay, so these high level languages don't need compiler, they just need interpreter, because while writing the code the errors will be checked, and once you remove all those errors, you can just run your script, and that interpretation will happen, and your processor and all your basically your PC will be able to work with it. Clear? So basically here we are having a direct access of that interpreter. So generally when we run the whole script is passed in to the interpreter, but here we can pass in individual statements also. So now Python, as I was telling you, is a very high level language, a very advanced language, and it is so high level that you can directly give mathematical inputs, the operations that we generally want to do with calculators, like advanced calculator is a complete application, right, that runs on top of that you have to develop in other languages. Here in the interpreter directly you can give those instructions, like if I do 5 plus 5, the interpreter can process it and ask your PC to make that calculation, and whatever is the result, it is able to read it from the machine side. Okay, and give it to you. So that interpreter is so high level that it can directly take inputs like these, whereas in the case of other languages you will have to write a lot of code around it to do this. Okay, to do the same thing in C language or something, probably you will start some function kind of a thing, or some complex thing. You will have to write like probably 10 lines of code to achieve this same basic task. Here you can do it directly. That's the meaning of high level, and that is why the Python syntax or the Python semantics is easy. That is why people are quickly learning this and doing things with Python. That is the reason. Fine. So the same thing, you understood what IPython is. The same thing we'll do in our here in notebook, so that the data gets saved. So you can basically do actions like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and what else, division. There are other operations also, modulo and exponentiation. Okay, so all these things you can do directly. So let's look at the examples. So you can do 5 plus 5, and when you run this code, it gives you the output. Okay, so this is the out. In this case, the output comes here, and here you were able to see it is given with the output tag. That's the only difference. This is terminal, this is here. So you can keep adding these code blocks, and you can keep writing code. Okay, so let's write another one. So subtraction operation, sorry. So 5 minus 5 is 0. Let's try multiplication, something like 3 multiplied by 5, 15, 10 divided by 2, 5. Okay, then 18. This is the what you call the modulo operation. Okay, 18% 7. I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay, my screen is also visible.
Yep.
Okay, just had a power cut. Yeah, so what we are doing in the modulo operation is, I'm saying 18% 7, and I'm getting 4. So modulo operation is basically the operation of finding remainders. Okay, so 7 2s are 14, 18 minus 14 is 4. Okay, so that remainder it is telling you. Fine. So then you have exponential operations also. 4 raised to the power of 2. Okay, 4 4 is 16 raised to the power. I'm here in the case of multiplication, I was putting single star. Okay, here I am putting 2 stars together, and these 2 stars have to go together. Okay, you can't, I have put space here, I have put space here, that is on both sides of the operator symbol I have put the spaces. You cannot put spaces here in between, because this whole thing means something. Okay, this whole, both these 2 stars have a meaning, and that is exponential. Here when I am doing these 2 stars with the 2 different numbers on either side, it has a different meaning. This can have a different meaning in some other scenarios also. I'll show you, it has a different meaning elsewhere, but here with numbers it means exponential. Okay, raising to the power. Clear? Any doubts till now?
So are you making these operations like when you run this in Visual Studio Code, it is using Python by I mean automatically, right? Do you have
Yeah,
to
VS Code itself is nothing. Okay, it is just a layer on top. Okay, in the background it is using Python only.
but
Okay,
you don't
like
have to make any settings or to tell it to use Python just by naming the
you will first have to install Python. These videos that I told you about. Okay, so here you will do first Python installation, and then you will do VS Code installation. In that it will tell you, I've told you how basically most of the time VS Code will automatically pick up where your Python is installed, and it will start using that. But in other cases you can if in case you have multiple Python versions installed, you can explicitly tell it to use a particular Python version. Okay, there is a setting for interpreters. Okay, so if you go to preferences, then settings, so here if I type in interpreter, so default interpreter path, Okay, and you can basically give complete Python path also. So because our terminal is able to pick up Python automatically from a particular path, it will also be able to do it automatically. Okay, you can explicitly give the path also, that python.exe file path. Fine.
Okay.
So anything else? Any other doubt? Okay. Then let's talk about our first function. Okay, the function that everyone talks about first in every language, whatever language you go to study, they will talk about this one function. The very first function they generally talk about is the print function. Okay, now in this case, why do we need why everyone is explaining the print function first? Let me just talk about that for a bit. The reason is that in the case of IPython, you can see the output is coming on the screen and you can see that, but in the real world you will not be creating IPython notebooks. Okay, you will be writing Python scripts. So in the case of script, if I let's say open, I create a new script. So let me just call it test.py Python script. Okay, I just call it text anyways. In the script, if I do 5 plus 5 and save it and run it, in the terminal it ran. You can see python.exe is trying to run this script. Okay, but nothing came out of it. Whereas if I was doing that same operation 5 plus 5, I was getting this output 10. Because what happens in the real world when you write, scripts, is that every single line that you will write as a code, you will not want the output of that. You will only want the output of certain things, certain final results. Okay, you will want the output of only certain things which are really necessary for the user to see. Every line you are not going to print out every time. So there will be at certain instances you will want to print something on the terminal. So only in those scenarios you will use the print statement. Okay, or the print function. Okay, so how do you use the print function? The same thing, that same operation you can pretty much enclose inside the brackets and create the print function. So in real world when you will write it, here I've done it differently, so not to confuse you. Generally you will put the name of the function and you will put the two brackets and then you will mention anything inside it. Okay, so let's say I'll put 5 minus 5 also here. Let's say I want to print some text also. Okay, so I'll print hello world. Okay, so these three things, let's say I want to print in the terminal. So the writing of the script happens in the file, the running of the script happens in the terminal. Okay, you're understanding this? So although you've written no matter what you've written in the script, everything is not going to appear on the terminal. So to show, like when you'll write the script, you'll write it one time, but when someone is going to run your script hundreds of times, they don't want to see every line. Okay, they just want to see key lines. So there you'll use the print function to put those key lines in the terminal. So if I run this, you see, first it print the first statement 5 plus 5, it did that operation and then it printed out. Then it did 5 minus 5 operation, the answer is 0, then it printed out 0. The third is just a text, piece of text, it is a string actually, and it printed that out as well. Although while creating this text I put the double quotes on both sides, but while printing those were removed automatically by the print function. So you are you wondering what is happening what is happening in the background, how the print function is able to do this, what is a function basically? Do you guys know what is happening in the background? Any idea? Anyone wants to tell me?
Not
Okay,
sure, sir.
not sure. Good. No issues. So basically, for us, okay, when we write our code, for us it is just one line of code, just the print function, okay, but in the background there is a lot of code, okay. So if I go here, all these help text and all this come up, but in the background it is a function, it is defined as a function, and after defining the function, in below the this statement, definition statement, there is a lot of other code also. Probably it will be like 100 lines of code, probably 200 lines of code, okay. That whole code now for us has one single name, that is print. We recognize that 100 lines of code with the name print. So basically we wrote 100 lines of code and we gave it a name, print. So you, to those 100 lines you are giving some input. This is your input, okay. The proper name is input argument. In the layman language we just call it input. So we just gave it input, and based on the type or based on the nature of our input, whatever actions it had to do, it did those actions, and then the final result was printed out in the terminal, in the same terminal where you ran your script. Clear? So earlier when I ran the script, 5 plus 5 10 happened, but I did not know if it happened or not, okay. So if I really want the people to know what happened, you will have to use the print function, okay, to show the important things, basically the important results. Any doubt till now? Okay, so let's proceed. Let me give you one question, okay, based on the knowledge that we have gained till now, okay. This is a very simple question. So the question, it is a mathematical question. The question is, suppose you have $100 which you can invest with a 10% return each year, okay. After 1 year it returns 100 into 1.1. So if you have basically 10% rate of return, the multiplier becomes 1.1, okay. So don't get confused with what will be the amount, how to calculate the amount. The simple, if it is 10%, it is 1.1. So it returns 100 into 1.1, $110 after an year if you have 10% rate of return, okay. And after 2 years it is 100 into 1.1 into 1.1. So basically for 2 years I multiplied this 2 times. After 2 years, this is the amount that you will get if you invested $100 for 2 years. Now I want you to tell me what will be the the calculation in simple mathematics. Also you can tell me after 7 years what will be the how will I calculate what I will get after 7 years as a return. Yeah.
100 into 1.1 raised to power 7.
Yes, 100 into, you can say 1.1 raised to the power 7. Okay. So these brackets I'm just using for enhancing the readability. If you don't use brackets, still it will work. Okay. But it is always better to enhance the readability. Okay. So this is the code that you want to, like, this is the actual mathematical thing. How will we write it? How can we use the Python interpreter to do this? So let's say here I have to do it. Okay, anyone wants to tell me? 100.
We'll use the exponential later.
Yeah, but
Multiply,
multiply sign will come here, right? Then
then 1.1.
Bracket start.
yeah, let's use the brackets.
Yes.
Okay, let's use the brackets. 1.1
Exponential.
Space star star
Sorry, 7.
7. Okay, so if I run this is the amount that you will get after 7 years. Okay, so yeah, so that's a little bit of a difference on how we do it in mathematics or write in mathematics versus how we write it as a code. But brackets, at a high level they might not be doing anything, or in this particular scenario they might not be doing anything, but using brackets can make a difference in certain scenarios, because just like in mathematics we have to use that rule called BODMAS rule. Has anyone heard about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in complex calculations, if you have a lot of plus minus multiplication and all those things, although the order that you want certain calculations to happen, you have to put them in brackets, because first the calculations will be done inside the bracket. Then I'm missing what O means, but then you have the order that we follow is
B with bracket, O is out.
out. Okay, out does not have that importance.
Multiply, add, subtract.
Yeah, so division, DMAS means division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So that is the order that you have to follow when you have to do any calculation. So that same order is also followed by the Python interpreter. Okay, so for that reason also you should use brackets, but in general also, if you want it to be more readable. Okay, now the thing about Python or any other programming language, when you write code, one thing you should always remember, okay, is that readability counts. Readability is very, very, very important, because when you write the code, you write it probably once, or you'll edit it once, twice, thrice, 10 times probably. But when it comes to running the code, let's say you develop one small script that does a particular task and you share it with your team, and over the course of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, probably that script will be run thousands of times. Okay, so the script running happens thousands of time. What other thing that happens thousands of time is the reading of the code. Okay, let's say you've written a code today for a particular purpose. Let's say the purpose is to log into a device and take output of 6 show commands. After 1 year, you have to write a very similar code where you have to use the you have to write a very similar script this time to make changes on the device. Okay, so the probably 50-60% of your earlier code can be copied in this new code. But if you have not written the earlier code in a readable fashion, it will become difficult even for you to read your older code and write something new with it. Okay, that is why if you notice, I'm wherever I'm putting any operators, okay, I'm putting spaces around them. Okay, this code will work even like this. Okay, if I remove all these spaces, still it will work. But is this more readable, or was the earlier version more readable? Do you think this is more readable and understandable with a quick glance of the eye, or the earlier version?
Earlier.
Earlier version, right? So here also, if you have noticed, I am doing that. Okay, I'm putting spaces wherever necessary. So do those things. When it comes to putting brackets, never put spaces here. Okay, this makes it less readable, if you have noticed. Okay, so here you don't put brackets, spaces, but around your operators, you must. Okay, so this one makes it more readable. Fine. Lot of things. As we go ahead, I'll keep showing you what is more readable, or what is the better way of doing stuff versus what is not. Okay, so readability counts. Readability is important. Okay, it is so important that, let me show you quickly also. Okay, if I just go to Python, if I just mention Pip 8, so they have created a complete style guide on the Python website, which is called the Pip 8. So what are PEPs? PEPs are like RFCs. In the case of Python, PEP is like RFC. So if I open this, they have lot of these PEPs. Okay, the full form is Python Enhancement Proposals. Okay, it is just like RFCs only. Okay, but within the framework of Python, they call them PEPs. Okay, Python Enhancement Proposals. So there is one special proposal which is PEP 8, which is called the style guide for Python. Okay, so wherever they have used GVR name, it is Guido van Rossum. Then you have Warsaw, other people, whoever are like contributing to different things. They write these PEPs so that other people can come to final decision that, okay, let's do a certain thing in this way. So one of the PEP is PEP 8. So if you just go through it, you will find out that one of Guido's key insights is that code is read much more often than it is written. Okay, and let me also tell you, you are also judged if in an interview they ask you to write code. Probably if they are not using some kind of whiteboard or something to make you write code, then in that case, if they are using some kind of interpreter or something and they tell you to write code, then they will even judge you if you are not following this. So there are a lot of these rules that they have mentioned, okay, in this guide, like how, like if you have to when you call a function, what is the correct way. Okay, like if you are calling a function, this is how you call a function, like we call the Python function, the print function, sorry. Then how the function is defined. So when the function was created, it will be created with the def keyword. Def stands for definition. So they are defining the function. So while defining the function, how you should mention your different input arguments that function needs. What are the different input arguments when you are calling the function, and how you see they put the if the line is too long, they are putting the argument in the next line, but in the next line they are not putting it from the very beginning. They have left that much space and basically they have put it at the same indentation level as the line above. So this makes it more readable. At a quick glance you can see that, okay, this line is also for the arguments of this function only. Very quickly you will be able to read that. Your eyes will catch it wrong quickly. Whereas in this case, if a line, if the next line starts somewhere, anywhere with randomly, then it becomes difficult to understand, right? So indentation, there are rules around indentation. Whenever you have free time, go through this as a homework today. You can go through this, like using tabs versus spaces. So earlier, now pretty much all projects you will find 4 spaces only. In the case of Visual Studio Code, even if I hit like, even if I go to next line and if I hit the tab key, I've hit the tab key. The tab key is automatically converted into 4 spaces by Visual Studio Code. If I go to Notepad and hit the tab key, it will be a tab key only. But here it becomes 4 spaces. So 4 spaces is the recommended thing. But you will see that if you happen to use any older work on any older code, you will see that they use tabs also. Okay. So if you're not working, like if you're probably writing your code in a terminal or something, you have taken SSH session of let's say you're using nano editor. You have taken an SSS session of let's say a Linux machine, and there you are doing writing the code, you're editing the code. You will have to hit the space bar 4 times. Actually, you cannot use the tab key, because tab means tab in the terminal, in the nano editor. So let's say if you have to do minor edits in a text file, so their tab will mean tab only. So be conscious. In those cases, hit the space bar 4 times and put 4 spaces only, because you'll start getting error, because let's say in some other part of the code you are using 4 spaces, but here you end up using tab. You can get errors also, but anyways you will end up destroying your code in terms of sanity. Okay. So if your project is using tabs, which you will not find, very rarely it is possible, so keep using tabs. But if you are starting any new projects, always 4 spaces. Okay. Then they also have rules on the length of the line. Like if like at this point the length, I'm in column 22, so this line has a length of 21 characters. Okay, so in one single line don't go above 79 characters. This is what they say, but this is one rule that generally you will end up breaking. Okay, because very difficult to fit. Sometimes you want it reduces the readability also. Okay, so this is one rule that you can break, but other than that, try to follow most rules. Like they'll tell you what is wrong or what is right. So here, for example, let's say you are adding something in brackets, lot of things. Okay, so here the like they tell you that don't put this plus signs, minus signs after your variable name, put them before. Okay, so what are the rules on blank lines? If you are importing a lot of libraries, how to do it? Some of these things you might not even understand for now, because we have not written that much code. Like for brackets also, like they'll show you probably the wrong way or something. So you can see for all these operators, plus, minus, greater than, equal to, or all these operators, put spaces around them. Okay, like this is wrong. This is wrong. Like equal to, both sides you should have put a space. Plus, both sides you should have put a space. Like this is the correct way of doing it. So it makes it more readable. This is less readable, this is more readable. Quickly you will be able to understand what the code is written, and you will be able to work with this. Okay. Naming conventions. So variable is a topic that we'll study next. So variable naming also has rules. Okay, that what is allowed, what is not allowed, and mixed case is good, but things like these, having capital letters and then having underscores both together, it looks ugly. They've mentioned it looks ugly. So this is called camel casing. Okay, these are examples of camel casing. Like when I named this file, you see I capital, A capital, P capital, F capital. So it makes it more readable. Okay, I can quickly read initial and print func. Okay, so I've used capital letters for every single word. So this is called camel casing. Okay, use that in your variables also, and use capitalized words, or camel case as they call it, or you can use mixed case also. The first letter starts with lowercase, the second word in the same variable name. Sometimes you will have to use 2 words, 3 words to properly describe that variable. So you can use mixed casing, you can use camel casing, or you can use underscores, but with all lower cases is recommended. This looks ugly. So they have mentioned rules around pretty much everything. Okay, so if you are wondering how you should write your code nicely, I don't want to put a lot of pressure at this point on you guys to write the code nicely, but if you from the very beginning, if you have an understanding of this thing, you will not make that error. Okay, that's why I'm telling you at the very beginning itself, in the first class itself, that always have an eye for this. Okay, कि क्या अच्छा लग रहा है, क्या बुरा लग रहा है, have an eye for this, what is looking good, what is not looking good. Okay, because you might be judged on these things. If you'll give an interview in some nice organization like Microsoft or AWS or so on, they'll judge you, I can tell you that. Okay, okay, so now here we did this operation, right? In a similar way, okay, it's already 9, so let's stop here. Let me not get into the next topic, let's do that tomorrow. So any doubts till now?
Till now, we have not done anything. Just we have to do by ourselves. Then only we know where we have doubt.
Great, that's the best thing you can say. So now let me tell you one more thing. The thing is, this folder is basically, I'm accessing this folder directly from my Google Drive. Okay, the access to this Google Drive will also be given to you guys. Okay, so as I am working on any script, that will be available to you in pretty much real time. Okay, so any like you can, I'll give that access to you guys, the link to that Google Drive in your this thing here. I've given access, the link to that Google Drive. This is for the older batch. For the newer batch also I'll give you. Okay, so any other required software, this is a different Google Drive and this is a different Google Drive. So for this one you will have to request access. Okay, so once you click on this, it will ask you to request access. Just request access, I'll approve it, and you will get the access to this newer Google Drive. Here all the scripts will be available to you. I think some of you also have access to the older this thing, right? Some of you joined earlier also. I think Ajit, Abin, you were there, you joined in previous batch also, right?
No, I did not.
Huh?
Yes, I joined previous batch. I didn't attend the class.
Okay, okay, no issues. So this link you will get access to here. Okay, within that same Google Drive link to scripts/config. So I'll be putting the config files for devices also in this same folder, and I'll give access to you, and you take access from me, and you'll be able to work with it. So within this week I'll set up this whole thing, don't worry. Once you get the access, the scripts will be available to you in real time, and if you want to copy paste something and write the code then and there in the class itself, if you want to write it, and if you want to edit or modify something and want to try out something, you can do it, and you can ask me as a doubt. So other than that, you guys can tell me if you have any other thing you want to ask.
Hi, I have a question actually. So
Yeah.
currently I have access to the learn.networkings.com, but I don't see. I see the Python course on my
That's what
dashboard, but
that's what I'm saying, right? That within this week I'll do it. I'll get access to that course as a editor, and I'll edit and put all these things. Okay.
okay.
This is the first week, right? So setting up happens within this week, so I'll do it. Don't worry. Next week onwards, you'll be all set from my side. Okay. Videos also you'll keep. This week it might take time, but from next week onwards, everything will be regular. Right after the class, I'll upload the videos, and you'll get access. It will be processed, and you'll get access within 1 hour probably. Okay. After the class. So yeah. This week I need to regularize everything. Any other doubt before we close?
And would you be also sharing the the images of the devices that we are going to work on, like if it is Cisco or
Yeah.
uh,
Let me show that also to you. So this also I've shared one folder. Let
okay.
me show it to you. So I've given you one CSR image, then these are all IOU images. I've given you secure CRT also. This is the diagram of the topology, which looking at which you can create your own topology. Okay. So you can download the zip folder also. This also has the same images. This is the IOURC file. So just create environment based on this. The topology, do the connectivity as per this topology itself. Okay, the same Ethernet port. Make the connectivity just like this. In your case, this will be a different thing. This part will be a different thing. It will be a cloud. But other than that, all the devices, okay, all the devices do the connectivity as per the same interfaces, because the configuration files that I give you, then you just run them. You go inside the device and run that file. Automatically your whole connectivity will come up. Is it clear? Because
Yeah, yeah. So
because the whatever IP I've given on this interface, that will be same. So everything will start working instantly. Okay.
and by any chance, are we having Juniper images or something like that?
Juniper images, I think on internet you can find it, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But Juniper images are very heavy. If you want to run it on your own PC, very heavy to run. So
Because
That
currently our organization is completely Juniper, so it
yeah,
would be more helpful for me to really work on Juniper, devices
yeah,
like SRX
yeah.
320.
Yeah, I get your point. Those images, I don't think that is very difficult. Do you guys have access to the Juniper portal?
Not really for us. We work with third-party vendors to get the images, so not
Yeah,
a
so
direct.
so if you can just get the QCOW2 file from them for any version, those same images
Okay.
will work here also. Okay.
Yeah.
The best way to do it is like, let me show you. Just go to gns3 dot com, I think. Okay. Uh, so here, if you go to marketplace, what happened? Yeah. So here you have appliances. Okay. So within GNS3, if you want to install something, if you download this
SRX.
yeah, yeah, VSRX for example. So here I think they'll also tell you these files. Okay. You see, the exact file name is given to you. So these all files are compatible. Okay, the depending on the size and everything, I think they've even given you links. So these links are just to tell you where in the Juniper website you will get it, but you need to have access. So you just to whatever vendor you are working with, just give this file name. Okay, they'll download and give it to you. Okay, it's that easy.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And just like in your PC, generally you will not have, I think most of you will have 8 GB or 16 GB RAM. So go for older versions. Okay, older versions, like these newer versions will require more RAM to work properly. Go for older versions like 17, 15, 16 if you want to run it on your laptop. Okay, but if you, for by chance, if you have any PC which has like 32 GB RAM or 64 GB or 128 GB RAM, in that case you can go for newer versions also. Clear? Any other doubt?
Uh, for the Juniper, just an
Hmm.
extended question.
Hmm.
So the working would be kind of similar, right? For both Cisco and Juniper, mostly, right?
Yeah. Just go to Google and find out how to bring it up in GNS3, or if. By the way, if you guys are habitual with EVNG, some of you guys might be using EVNG also, right? If you're habitual with EVNG, this whole setup, same thing can be created in EVNG also. Not a big deal. The same topology can be created in EVNG, pretty much the same steps. In there also you have one management cloud kind of a thing, right, which gives access to the topology. So that functionality you can use and create the same thing in EVNG also. So just look at those videos. In the case of VMX and all, some devices are a bit complicated. You have to install two parts, the control plane and data plane. Okay, so the control plane part, VCP, and I think there is VFP, forwarding plane. So those two components you install, you connect them with EM0 interface. Then it becomes a proper router, and then you can use it to connect with other devices. So just go on to YouTube or internet, and you will find a lot of videos on that stuff, on how to bring it up. Okay, so other than that, Cisco device is very straightforward. Once you learn with Cisco, pretty much similar concepts apply for Juniper also, other devices also. Okay, so for now, just focus on the course. In your free time, you can do all this. Okay, testing it with other devices. Fine. Let's stop here. Let's meet again tomorrow then. Let me stop the recording also.